Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. It is your favorite warlock practicing necromancer. And I know last night I did a small little reply to Jerry Michael Brooks on blacklisting. Okay. Now, I described what blacklisting is by businesses and corporations and stuff like that, and the banking systems and a few other things. But I wanted to kind of give you the legal course on this and kind of break it down for you so that you can understand your rights. Now, personally, I recommend that if you live in America, you live in the United States of America, I, I refer to you to the Bill of Rights. This is basically the first 10 commandments. Okay? The First Amendment we all know as freedom of speech, freedom of the press, freedom of assembly, and most importantly, freedom of religion, right? So then we got the Second Amendment, which deals with guns. It's your personal right to have guns and stuff like that, like guns, knives, and weaponry in your home. It is your constitutional right? Well, there are three aspects to the Bill of Rights that I found interesting when studying the commandments, specifically the Articles of Configuration, the Bill of Rights, and the Constitution itself. The First Amendment is a primary thing of your liberties. Okay. Um, the Fourth Amendment through the Eighth Amendment basically deals with your rights to unlawful searches and seizures, deportations, the right not to incriminate yourself. You name it, it's right there between the Fourth Amendment through the Eighth Amendment. And then the Tenth Amendment is basically protects you from the government. Okay, the Tenth Amendment protects you from the government and the established norms. Okay, but what I'm going to refer to you on here is the 14th Amendment. And this basically falls under the Economic Liberty Clause. This is where it talks to you about privileges and immunity clauses. Now, a lot of this comes down from the government not being able to interfere with your right to make a living. Okay? But it also applies to the independent um, businesses and corporations that are out there. Based, and it has to go along with the first 10 amendments, which is basically what they consider to be the first 10 amendments or the Bill of Rights. So when we look at this, privileges and immunities clause, we look at things like whistleblowing. You know, the union activities. When somebody calls, like say OSHA or the state, and files an official complaint, for an example, against a business, or they file a legal lawsuit of discrimination, okay, um, it's based off a retaliation clause as well because that company has blacklisted you. Number one, that corporation has blacklisted you. They are preventing you from seeking out further employment in the field of your choice, which, by the way, goes against your 14th Amendment, okay, and your right to make a living through honest hard work and stuff like that. But by retaliating and discriminating against you from being rehired or hired by another company, this is called whistleblowing activity. And what it is that you have stood in their way and they're retaliating against you, saying, guess what? You're fucked. You fucked with my business. You either got up and left, but you're 2 weeks in, or you caused too much trouble to be rehired. Okay? Either way, you're fucked. Right? Wrong. There are things that you can do. For an example, this is going to come down to your state. Okay? Whatever state that you're in within the United States, of America. For an example, I'm here in Maine currently. You can be in California, Texas, Florida, New York, wherever. Okay? Look up your labor laws. Okay? I want you to go underneath if you're on Social Security. That's a violation of being able to make a living and move up into a company, moving up in rank in the company. It moves into religious rights if you're being discriminated against through your religion. And most importantly, it goes into equal rights violations. So they're opening themselves up to a fucking can of whoop ass, literally, just by discriminating against you and blacklisting you from working in the field that you've chosen. Okay? So let me break this down a little bit here before I get into this. So when you look at, for an example, let's say, for an example, you've reported to HR that there's numerous violations. Okay? By doing this, they are mandated to make a record of this. Now, keep in mind, HR is not for you, the employee, but for the company. They only look out for the company, as I said yesterday in that video. That's the only thing. But that's not what you want to worry about. The thing that you want to set in motion is the fact that you are putting together a paper trail so that if you go to court or you're going to, say, OSHA or the state and you're filing with them, they go in, and this is now federal legal system coming in going, this is what's coming down. We've gotten too many fucking reports about your business. And basically they can if they're convicted of blacklisting you, if they are convicted of numerous OSHA violations, say, for example, if you're in the fast food industry, then guess what? Food safety violations, your license, that company's license is pulled and they are prevented from practicing business in that state from one of two reasons. One, until they get this shit cleaned up and all fines are paid, or two, they just go somewhere else. They pack up and leave and have to go somewhere else. Okay? So like I said, this comes down to whatever state that you're in, and you can look this a simple Google search can bring this up for you too. For an example, in the state of Maine, the company that I used to work for, Duncan, they've already got 5 active lawsuits, which I found was amusing, and they're still going from what I understand. With the evidence that I had on the company, I could have easily joined in on that, but I chose not to for 2 reasons. One, I don't give a fuck about it. I'm too busy doing my own thing. 2, what's the fucking point? I'm doing okay in my own business, right? I'm done working for other people, so I'm doing my own job, right? I started my own business. So you would want to look at the food safety issues. See, I was notorious from telling upper management and regular management, from the shift leaders all the way up to the general manager, even the upper levels, such as the district managers and above, where to fucking go. Okay, you want this shit done, you're going to be the one on camera doing this shit. Okay? I was the one teaching the crew how to do their jobs and how to basically not only do my job as a shift lead, but also to maintain the equipment that is supposed to be cleaned every other day, like once every 3 days. Okay? Which they were not doing it. Sterilization of the ice bins, which is supposed to be done, especially when you got sugar, the syrups, all this shit in that fucking bin. It is contaminated. Okay? And it's considered to be contaminated. So like I said, this is just some examples of what I mean by going to HR, going to your management, going to the upper management, and putting in an official record going through within that company that you work for. You could be a doctor, you could be a lawyer, you could be a retail associate, it doesn't freaking matter. When you put when you put forth that record, and then you go to the state because they're threatening to cut your hours, threatening your pay, and all this stuff. Like I said yesterday, my son's mother's former employer is threatening to withhold her 96 PTO pay that they are legally mandated to pay out. Okay, they have to cash that out and give it to her because otherwise it's theft of unauthorized taking, and it is corporate espionage. Basically, you're basically destroying your own company. Now, I told her to do this, make that record, go to the state. Well, she finally did, and she went to the state. She didn't just go to OSHA, she went to the state as well and filled out the proper paperwork and documentation, gave evidence and photos, everything. It was brought back that there's very few assisted living places in the state. Okay, so obviously this place may or may not be shut down because of their behavior and the way they do it, withholding pay times a week past when they're supposed to pay their employees, to threatening to withhold pay, threatening criminal activities such as sending people home, cutting hours, retaliation-based stuff. This is illegal, okay? This is them trying to intimidate you because they have big bucks behind them. Their salary, you're not. Okay? So this is fear tactics. This is dark psychology. So here it is, ladies and gentlemen. In my state, we have a little thing called MRS 17, which discusses blacklisting, which is a Class D crime. Okay? And this falls underneath preventing, maintaining, and the penalty for doing such a thing. Okay? Preventing somebody from gaining employment because you blacklisted them, and other corporations within that field, such as, say, McDonald's, Burger King, Dunkin' Donuts, wherever, they all will call and they will give a negative perspective. It does not matter if it's true. It does not matter if there's evidence behind it. It does not matter whatever. They will blacklist you, and everybody else will go based off of that. Okay? Like I said, these people that do this and are preventing you from gaining employment is basically committing a Class D crime. Okay? And this comes down to discrimination and retaliation. So even if you have moved past, let's say, for an example, you've been unemployed for 2 months, 3 months. This is way more time than what is normally known for a individual to go, okay, I'm done with this corporation. They've cashed me out within a pay period, which is normally a week or 2, sometimes 3 weeks. Sometimes it takes about 3 weeks for them to fully cash out everything from PTO to your final pay stubs, everything. Because they have to wait till your final pay check goes out and then they can cash you out. This is the legal way of doing it. Okay? But if you go to sit there and file an application for a new job, let's say, for example, you go from Burger King to McDonald's, okay? And they bring you in for, say, 1 or 2 interviews, and then all of a sudden, you don't get a fucking call back saying, hey, we're not hiring you. They don't send a letter out. They don't do anything. They just ignore you. This is blacklisting, okay? This means that they checked into your sources and they lied about you. They gave you a negative review, a review on your performances and stuff, which is basically maintaining that blacklisting prospect. You're being railroaded, and railroaded. You're being prevented employment because you are now being maintained underneath that blacklisting perspective. Do not hire list. Okay? Now, the penalty of this is a massive fine, maybe a loss of license to practice business. And the people involved, well, they don't just open themselves up to a legal lawsuit. They've opened the company up to a massive, massive lawsuit because it's a Class D fine. It's considered to be a slap on the wrist. It is a misdemeanor fine. Okay, it's a Class D. And the thing is that if you look under Title 17A, I believe it's subsection 4A, if I remember correctly, it gives you a list of all the penalties that can go down through this corporation if they are fined by the state and by OSHA. So instead of playing nice under the 14th Amendment, under economic liberty, okay, they're going to have to pay out 10 times more because they put you on a blacklist, do not hire list. Wow. Amazing, right? But I wanted to kind of put that out there and kind of give you that example. This is what transpires. Now, about about 4 months back, I started reapplying. I was kind of bored doing what I was doing. Well, I had 2 interviews, and then all of a sudden, all these, I was talking with some GMs, and a few of them were like, yeah, just, talk to the district manager, And another one who's a general manager goes, well, your name didn't come up on the hire list, which means it's either been removed or it's been blocked. I'm specific with who I hire. That's discrimination. That's saying I don't want to fucking deal with it. Wow, that's an idea that you've been blacklisted. Okay, you've been put on that banned list, which means you're not going to get hired there again. Like I said, it does not matter if you left on good terms. It doesn't matter if you just got up and got done. It's called discrimination. It's called retaliation, and it is a Class D crime. No matter where you are in the state. And the titles may vary depending on your labor laws, depending on which state you're in. So, like I said, that is just a little information for you. And like I like I said yesterday in the video last night for Jerry, Michael Brooks, I hope this has been educational. I hope it's given you the idea of what blacklisting is. And being banned, do not hire type thing. This is part 2 of that, and I wanted you to kind of have that legal ramification process going, so that you have an understanding. Okay, this is what they do, but guess what? This is also what you can do to go, fuck you, motherfuckers, plain and simple. Okay, this is why I always tell you guys to know. To put forth and back up what you preach. More so, always make yourself available to the public because you're responsible for the things that you do and say. Okay? So, education is perhaps one of the best things, and that's why my channel is dedicated to apotheosis. It is dedicated to education and higher learning, because without that, you're going to be nothing more than a slave going, yes, master, how much more should I bend over? Just saying. The 10 Commandments, the first commandments, amendments out of the Constitution is there for you. These are there for your civil liberties and protections from tyranny. Okay? From tyranny. And these corporations that do this, they are trying to be a tyrant. Their way or the highway. Well, guess what? Break the law, you're going to get your ass handed to you. Plain and simple, because eventually somebody's going to sit there, do their research, they're going to go, or they're going to come across this video and go, oh, look at this. I got all this shit that I can do because I'm being blacklisted. Not only do they have to pay out for you if convicted, okay, They have to pay the state. They have to pay OSHA. Oh, yeah, so instead of paying one, they're paying three. Wow. Alrighty. So that's what I wanted to come under and say. I hope it's been educational. I hope it's been enlightening. I want to thank everybody for jumping on here with me. I did see your messages here. Isabel Banny 2141. I believe this is the first time seeing you. Welcome to the channel. Mary Duffy 9473. Con Q5M. Welcome to the channel. J. Brown, Virginia. Welcome to the channel. So, anyways, hope this has been educational. I hope it's been enlightening. And like I said, back up what you preach, stand your ground, and know your fucking rights. Okay? Lawyers will tell you the same thing. And if you look at your contracts when you go into a business, read down through the fine details. Look at your labor laws. Okay? Stand your ground. All right? Have a good day.